from LPI Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. It's R&R on Sports with Uncle Howard, Howard Robertson.
Kobe retiring, making this the farewell tour.
Jennifer Conroy.
We were just talking about Ali, is that he was engaged in what people would consider a violent sport.
And the magnificent Larry Robinson.
It's really hard to plan for a game against Golden State Warriors because they play such a non-traditional form of basketball.
It's R&R on Sports.
I'm loving this. Hello and welcome to a little R&R on Sports. I am Uncle Howard.
And I am Jennifer Conroy.
And I am the fantastic, the amazing, the greatest of all times. Larry Robinson's in the house. What's up, America?
Hello.
What's happening, y'all?
What's happening? What's happening? How y'all doing today?
Doing great,
Floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee.
Everybody has Allie-isms.
Yes.
Allie-isms. That's great. That is great. That is great.
She got on her little cousin's T-shirt, though.
This is my T-shirt.
What's it got on there, baby?
Ollie?
You sticking out so much I can't read. Muhammad.
Yes. He's wearing
Muhammad Ali.
Yes,
Yes, you got your shirt. You representing.
absolutely.
Very eventful times. Very eventful times. So much happening. And of course, as the whole world knows, we lost the greatest of all time. And,
Greatest of all times.
And we're going to talk a lot about that in this show. But we're going to come back to that. There's a lot to talk about. NBA Finals.
Yes.
Serena lost in the finals of the
She
French.
did. That's all right. She's the highest paid female athlete.
Yeah, but she's been that for a minute, right?
Yeah, for a little minute.
Yeah,
But-
but she's still the highest paid
Yeah,
female
but that's
athlete
that's
in
not
the world.
history. That's not history, though. We're chasing history. So we're chasing Grand
So
Slam.
wait a minute, wait. It's not history that you have an African-American woman tennis player that becomes the highest paid female athlete in the world. I think I beg to differ.
Straight out of Compton.
I beg to differ.
Okay, all right.
Correct yourself before you wreck yourself.
But we are still chasing history.
Oh,
we are
yeah,
chasing
absolutely.
Grand Slam wins.
I hear you.
She's trying to tie.
At 22, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's going to be harder than anticipated.
I think it's not going to be as hard as we would make it. I mean, she came pretty close this time. I mean, she was in the finals. So, I mean, she's pretty regular at the finals now.
Okay.
So, I think she's going to do
Sure
it.
does
we
like
need
to
one to
talk about
tie,
regular.
one to tie, and one to win. So will she get them in this season?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
US
She will
Open or
exceed.
the-
Well, it's only 4, right?
Yeah. You got what we got coming up.
Wimbledon? Is Wimbledon?
Yeah, Wimbledon.
Wimbledon
next, I
is
think.
coming up,
And
right.
the Australian.
And then
You got the French
U.S.
Open.
Open is
Yeah.
is around Labor Day.
Yeah. So hey, she'll do it. She'll do it.
We're looking forward to it. We are looking forward to it.
Well, we got a NBA championship. Oh, wait a minute. Cam said he's retiring the dab. The dab is gone.
We're gonna cry.
The white women of Tennessee will be so sad that they don't get to write any more letters about the dab.
Yeah, white people are always slow. Y'all just doing it, right?
I know.
Y'all just
They're not even doing it
you just
correctly.
getting it.
Wait a minute, hold on.
You
They were
just
at the
getting it.
spelling
Yeah.
bee. They were
The
at
hang
the
of it.
spelling bee dab.
Yeah, they were dabbing.
at the spelling bee.
My 7-year-old daughter said to me, "Mommy, did you know that there's a B in dab? It's silent." I said, "Thank you, baby."
So he says it's the dab.
They were
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that at the spelling bee. Had the little guys. You know, they were getting down.
I'd be
They were
like
getting down.
CAJ.
We got a great show. We have got a great show. We're going to come back with top of mind. But always, before
Oh, you
we
know
get
what?
to that, you got the LMAO. What?
I have a shout out.
Oh, shout it out.
I'm
Make
gonna
it
shout
quick.
out Ricky Brigman because I did not lose our bet and the Cavs did not get swept, and so
Okay.
Okay, well,
I'm
We're
happy.
coming back.
He coming back with the LMAO.
Laugh your booty off. We'll be back after this.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright.
Yes, Mr. James. Per your instructions, I found the preeminent authority and expert on stopping the Golden State Warriors. Let me introduce to you Mr. Ragus Robinson.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Robinson? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine there, LeBron. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is we whispering?
Oh, this is a top secret meeting. This is top secret.
Okay, well, I'm a little loud.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
forgive me.
Go ahead.
I do have the strategy for you to whoop these boys, because these boys been putting a whooping on y'all, and I know y'all need some help.
Okay, go ahead.
I got some things. Now, here's the first thing you need to do. Now, about that Ego Doppler boy.
You mean Iguodala?
Well, that's what I said. Ego Doppler. Now, he's a brainiac. That's a very smart boy, I understand. So what you need to do right up front, you ask him, hey, is pi r squared, yes or no?
Is pi r squared?
Is pi r squared, yes or no? And that's you ask him that up front. And he'll be thinking about that the whole game, and it'll distract him and mess his game up, and you'll have him. Now, about this Curry boy, what you gonna need for him is some of this. You see what that is?
What is that?
That's some peppermint flavored Gorilla Glue. You ease that into that boy's mouthpiece. You know he plays with that thing all the time.
Right.
Matter of fact, it's peppermint, and it helps it smell better, because I know the thing stink by now to the high heavens. So if when he bite down on that, it's gonna clamp his mouth shut. He ain't gonna be able to open his mouth and get it out, and it's gonna wear the hell out of him.
What?
It's gonna wear him to death. So then you have him. Now let's move on to this D. Raymond Green boy.
This guy.
This D. Raymond boy. Now, I understand, is very, very close to his mama. Mama name is Mary.
Okay.
So every chance you get to talk about Mary, you can sing that little song, Mary, call me on my cell phone.
You want me? What?
Late night
when
when she need my love. Talk about his mama, Mary. Tell him that your daddy used to kick it with her back in the day, and you think they might be brothers. Y'all need to go on the Morris show for that DNA. It's gonna make him mad, and he gonna find a way to kick you. What? That'll do him. Now, this Klay Thompson boy, you gonna need this.
A brick?
It's a brick. Hit the boy upside the head with it. I'ma have somebody drag him out in the parking lot and let the sunlight hit him. Cause what people don't know is that boy is Dracula.
What?
He is Dracula. Sunlight will mess him up. And if you do that, that'll take care of the whole game.
Okay, is pi r squared?
No, boy. Pi are not square. Pi are round. Cornbread are square.
And we're back. After LMAO. And y'all know, always, we start this party out with something called Top of Mind. Don't say that.
Oh, Lord. He sees dead people.
You done? You through?
I'm through, man.
Okay.
I'm through.
And it never gets any better. It never get. You know what? It's no improvement.
Maybe we should start a
improvement.
You guys are not giving me.
We're gonna have a GoFundMe campaign for
you
lessons
guys
for
are
him.
not recognizing the light that lives within me.
That's because we're deaf now.
No, that has nothing to do with the fact that
the light.
I am blessed. I am blessed with
what did you just say?
amazing vocals.
I'm blessed.
I'm blessed with a dog whistle falsetto.
Oh my goodness! Quit.
I'm
it.
blessed.
Listen, let's talk sports. Let's
You've
talk
been blessed
sports.
with my presence.
Let's
Okay,
talk sports.
That's right, baby.
Thank you.
Okay, now so much is happening. We started talking about Serena, but there's another part.
Serena
There's
Butt.
another big story. Serena,
Then
but
you
yes,
said-
my
then you
goodness,
said big.
yes.
Woo-woo.
My goodness, yes. Were we talking about Serena's butt?
You cannot lie, can you?
Oh my goodness!
What do
Now,
you
What's
like?
wrong with y'all,
is
man?
it,
What's
I
wrong?
mean, I got a lot to say about
What's
that.
wrong
I
with
know.
y'all?
I got a lot to say.
Phenomenal.
Man.
Serena got some booty now.
Yeah, she does.
Yes, my goodness.
Well, she got enough for everybody. But okay, so we're gonna talk about sports on the court.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
court.
Tennis court. Sharapova.
Sharapova
Bye.
reduced her.
Felicia.
They reduced her suspension from 4 years to 2, but they said she was definitely lying that she didn't know. No, that they believe her when she said that she didn't get the notices from the WTA in regards to the outlawed drug.
You gotta open your mail,
but
honey.
But actually, she's gotten at least 4 notifications.
And this is normally heart and diabetes medication.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
you know that, right?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Alrighty then.
Whatever it is, it's giving her
she
an
got
unfair advantage.
She got a little sideways when they looked at the instructions and directions from her physician, who said, take one the morning of a big match.
But if it's a really big match,
a really big match, take 2.
Oh wow!
And,
so I'm just gonna help her. I'm gonna help you cheat. I'm just gonna help you cheat.
Right.
I don't know,
you think
man.
It's going to affect. You think it's going to affect her?
Now what's interesting?
Now
here's what's interesting to me. Nike said they look forward to their continued partnership.
Yeah.
Now
everybody's sticking with her.
Yeah. Then,
sticking with her. The equipment.
Now what's interesting to me about that is you got someone who has been caught cheating in their professional sport. And now you have individuals like with Manny Pacquiao. He made an unsavory comment in regards to homosexuality. They cut their relationship. The young man with Baltimore Ravens, that the domestic violence guy, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. And anyway, so he's
Ray Rice.
Ray Rice. He's considered. His deal with Nike's gone. But what I'm saying is, it's really hard for me to understand how you can catch someone cheating in their sport and you still want to maintain.
But Larry, who's
the
in
relationship.
charge?
Well, it depends on the acknowledgement of what you call "quote unquote" cheating. I mean, and it begs the question: do you guys think the whole doping question is much too nebulous and intrusive at this point? That they really don't understand what things are banned and on the list and all of that? I mean,
she got 4 notices. She didn't get caught. She thought that she could get away with it. And frankly, she's a pretty little white girl that perpetuates the image that tennis has always had and wants to continue to have. Same with Anna Kournikova. Anna Kournikova sucks. She's terrible. But how much in endorsements did she have up until Serena now?
So you're saying cuteness
overcomes
in
cheating.
The WTA, that really?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Is it fair? No. Is it right? No.
Say that, girl.
Is it the way that it's always been?
All right.
Absolutely.
Preach, my vanilla sister.
You got
my vanilla sister.
Woo-woo! I'm a high yellow Hebrew. I mean, you got Ray Rice. Ray Rice hit his now wife in an elevator, and then you've got the Brock Turner from Stanford who raped a girl behind a dumpster and got 6 months out and 3 for good behavior. But he's a really good swimmer. And we don't want to impact his life in a negative way.
You don't want to mess his life up.
No, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Let's talk finals a little bit. Any surprises? I tell you what, the Cavs showed up and showed out.
Yes, they did.
Man, this
Wednesday night.
It just seems really hard for me to believe that the teams play so differently at home. I mean, come on. I mean, you're talking about a 60-point swing in the game. You got the Cavs lose by damn near 40, and when they go home, they end up winning by 30. I mean,
the
that's
difference
a 60.
is love.
They get a little love at home.
No, they sat love down at home.
They were loveless.
Yes. He's in timeout.
All we need is love.
You want me to sing with you, brother?
Please not.
No.
Please not.
No.
Well, let's talk about Kevin Love. I mean, what
happens with Kevin?
Him?
Does he stay with the Cavs if they can prove to be successful with Richard Jefferson in the starting lineup? Do you continue to pay this guy $100 million?
Bye.
Well,
Bye.
He's a max player. He's a max contract player. Now, do you continue to pay him if he's coming off the bench?
Now I got another question.
Answer my question first.
Does he have?
Can you answer my question? Can you answer my question? That's so disrespectful.
No.
That is so
answer mine, and then it'll answer yours. Do you guys think he has heart issues?
Yes.
No, I just don't think he fits. I think it's a failure to fit.
A failure to fit.
I like that.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean
failure
by
to
heart issues?
Well,
yes,
I
I think
mean,
I don't mean physical issues with his heart. I
know
the
you
lack
understand.
thereof.
Yeah,
I think Kyrie has them too.
But I don't think that's an issue about them having heart. I think he's used to having the ball more. I think he's used to playing a sort of point power forward type of thing like he was in Minnesota. And I think it's been really challenging for him to get used to.
Oh.
So it's failure to
spot
fit
up
for him.
shooter.
You don't think
And then
Poor
with the whole small ball transition, I think it's difficult for him to play defense on the smaller players. When you have someone like a Golden State that's going to exploit with, I mean, man, they look for the weakest link and put them in a pick and roll situation so that they end up on one of those quick guards such as Steph Curry or Leandro Barbosa or any of those guys, and he just cannot check those guys.
That's because he's white.
No, it ain't got nothing to do with his skin color. But
he's terrible.
He's just not a very laterally quick person.
I think he goes.
So he loses.
I think he goes.
No, I definitely think he goes. I think he needs a better situation.
I think LeBron might drive him wherever he goes and drop him off. Bye. I do have a question though. I want to know who did Jefferson's tattoo. Have you seen it?
No.
Which one? Well, tell us about
The
it.
one on his arm.
Does it look bad?
It looks like he went to prison and had a kindergartner do it.
Wow. You know, he probably did it early in his career.
Leave it to Jennifer to check him though. If it's something
Now, what did you say
wrong,
about?
Jack.
Now, what did you say about Iman Shumpert?
He missed his West Side Story NBA edition audition. What is he wearing? Is he going to do a new edition of?
What do you think about his
Beat
hair?
It?
What do you think about his hair in Game 3?
What is he doing? What
Okay.
is he?
Now,
you know
this
what? He's going to
show-
star in Kazam.
This show is a very, very special show. We're going to talk. ICONversation, we mean this literally. We're going to have conversation about an icon. Yes. Arguably the most dominant cultural sports figure of our time, Muhammad Ali. And we're going to start talking about that right after this. Don't go anywhere.
It's R&R on sports.
Hello, I'm Uncle Howard.
Jennifer Conroy.
I'm Larry, the fantastic Robinson.
Your host for R&R on Sports.
You better get with us or I'm going to come looking for you.
Every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on the SportsByline.com network, plus RNRonsports.com, Kazukian.com, iHeartRadio.com. Get our podcast, get after us. We look forward to having you.
R&R on sports, part of the Kazukian Network.
Who knocks out everybody and no one can whoop him. That's when that little Cassius Clay from Louisville, Kentucky came up and stopped Sonny Liston, the man who annihilated Floyd Patterson twice. He was going to kill me. But he hit harder than George. His reach was longer than George. He's a better boxer than George. And I'm better now than I was when you saw that 22-year-old undeveloped kid running from Sonny Liston. I'm experienced now, professional. Jaw's been broke, been lost, knocked down a couple times. Bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight. I done wrestled with an alligator. That's right. I have wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
Man, dude.
Yeah. Fast. Last night, I cut the light off in my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark.
Incredible.
Fast.
Incredible.
And you, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
And we're back with ICONversation. And as I mentioned earlier, this quite literally is what this is, and that makes this part of the show so timely. We are going to talk about the impact on the world that, as I said, perhaps the most culturally significant human being in sports of all time, certainly the greatest of all time, had on all of us.
Now, you typically are a person who doesn't like that whole greatest of all times, great this, great that designation. So you really believe
you're right.
This is applicable?
I believe it's applicable. I believe it's applicable to the extent that he is the original and that it should be retired. He is not, and because I don't think anybody else, any other athlete of our time can stand the rigors of what he did relative to becoming the greatest of all time. Now, there are other greats. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. You can be great, but greatest is one.
Okay.
That's one individual.
Agreed.
Okay. So when you say the greatest, we're talking about Muhammad Ali.
We're talking about Muhammad Ali, who named himself.
I'm so great. Well, actually,
he named himself two ways.
He was actually named by Elijah Muhammad. But go ahead.
Well, okay. No, named himself the greatest of all time.
Oh, yeah, he definitely did that.
I am the greatest.
He definitely did that.
At a very young age.
And you know, what's interesting, we were talking in pre-production, and we were talking about the fact that during this time, I mean, we went from him being 18 years old, winning the gold medal in Rome in 1960, coming home to Louisville, Kentucky, and trying to go get something to eat with a medal, with his medal on. He said, this should change it. I've represented my country, and now I'm going to be able to go anywhere and eat because
in his hometown.
In my hometown, they got to love me. And what happens? He doesn't get, they tell him they don't serve the N-word. They don't serve the N-word.
And he said, I don't eat them neither.
Yeah, and he said, I don't eat them either. And they still had him removed from the restaurant. And at that point, the story goes that he walked to the Ohio River Bridge and threw his medal into the Ohio River. Yeah, so if we start there, this was before I was born. I was born in 1967. So but what ended up happening is Muhammad Ali became this icon in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood,
you got to remind everybody you're from Louisville.
Well, everybody know I'm from the Ville. Everybody know I'm from the Ville. Yes, sir. Well, my dad grew up down the street from Ali, in the same neighborhood. My mom and everybody in the West End, and it was kind of interesting that this guy, he gave us pride. He gave us a level of pride that we believed that we could go anywhere. And never at any point did I think Louisville was a small podunk city, because we had the greatest of all times. And I could go anywhere and say, I'm from the hometown of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali became, everybody talks about he's a Kentucky, he's Ali of Kentucky. No, he wasn't. Everybody say he was Ali of Louisville. No, he wasn't. He was Ali of Black Louisville.
Yeah.
Black Louisville embraced Muhammad Ali as their very own and lifted him in a way that is amazing. And as you will see, if you look at all the reports of his funeral, how the amount of young African Americans that are honoring someone that a lot of them never even saw fight.
Right.
He had generational impact.
Oh, totally.
Without a doubt.
He had global impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about someone, and a lot of people don't recognize this, but you're talking about someone who was typically one of the most popular and revered human beings on the planet.
He was the most recognizable.
And back in the day, it would always include these others. It would be Ali, it would be the Pope, and it would be the Beatles and Elvis.
Okay.
And he and Elvis were friends.
Those are four of the top 5 most recognized and revered human beings on Earth. How does and my question is, back in that time when there was not there were not global media outlets.
Let me ask you something, Howard, because you were.
How could that be?
And I'm sorry I cut you off, but I want to understand what it was like for you as you being a young kid watching this guy who won his first big fight talk about he's the greatest of all times. When he beat Sonny Liston in Madison Square Gardens, literally, and who was a heavyweight champion, talked about himself as if he had beaten everybody.
Right.
I mean, this is before his fight with Floyd Patterson.
Yep.
This is before his fights with Foreman or Frazier, any of these guys. And he announces that he's the greatest of all times. What was that like, being raised in that era? I
mentioned to you before, I was raised by a World War II era father. So I got gloves before those were my first sports pieces of sports equipment. Before I got a basketball, before I got a football, I got a baseball glove and I got boxing gloves. Because those were the two prominent sports with African American fathers of the day. So I say that to say that I watched fights with my daddy. We listened to fights because the fights weren't on TV. We listened to fights on the radio, and I listened to fights with my daddy. And so the Ali Liston fight, I listened. We were listening on the radio, and I wanted Cassius Clay to win, and my daddy not so much. Everybody's got people have to understand.
Wait, your dad wasn't feeling him?
No, he wasn't feeling him. And anybody that you talk to will tell you that anybody my age
now, did he ever feel
their fathers didn't initially embrace Cassius.
Really?
No. He was too loud for him. He was too loud. He was too braggadocious. He was far too boisterous for him. I mean,
and this is even before he became Muhammad Ali.
They were used to their hero to that point was Joe Louis. And you know what Joe Louis's post-fight interview went like?
No.
He would say this: "Another lucky night. I'm glad I win."
I'm glad I win.
Another lucky night. I'm glad I win. And you know, Joe wasn't the most articulate cat ever. I mean, he could fight.
Yeah.
Right.
He could flat fight. But they were not accustomed to somebody coming in with all of this hype, especially a young kid like Ali.
Now, let me ask you this: when you're talking about him being pretty, how did that play as a black man?
Not well.
He's not supposed to be pretty.
Not well. It didn't play well. They didn't embrace that. Look,
when did you see the change?
They considered it disrespect because he was young and whatnot. And they were old school. They were of the school that you come in and you prove yourself. You prove yourself.
Fight.
If you're that good, then show us. Don't tell us. You know.
Would you say he's the first athlete that actually told you he was great and ended up living up?
Totally
backed it up?
Totally.
At what point did you see it change? At what point did you see the transition to, he's nice?
Well, when he's obviously winning doesn't hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Winning didn't hurt when he did what he said he was going to do. When he was, he had to get out of fighting some of the, Liston. They liked Liston okay, but they knew Liston was controlled by the mafia. Everybody knew that.
Really?
Everybody knew that. And so, I saw a montage of all these white businessmen talking about how great and how bad Liston was, how great Liston was, and what he was going to do to
Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about this more, but I hate how disingenuous people are, that particularly God's other children, white people, men my age and older, who despised everything about him, like Mitch McConnell, your homeboy, and now talk about looking all down like they lost a family member or something. Come on.
Say it loud. Say it loud. One more time. Say it loud.
I came to bring the pain, hardcore from the brain. Let's go inside my astral plane, find out my mental, based on instrumental records. Hey, so I can write monumental methods.
Well, Henry Cooper's nothing but a tramp. He's a bum. I'm the world's greatest. He must fall in 5 rounds, but if you talk about me, I'll cut it 3.
Your prediction about Doug Jones didn't go quite right, sir.
Well, Doug Jones was a little tougher than I thought he was, but I'll never fight another fella tough as Doug Jones, not even that big ugly bear Sonny Liston.
Is he your next fight?
Well, after I annihilate this Henry Cooper, I want that bear.
And what's going to happen to him?
Bad.
What's going to happen to him?
He might be great, but he'll fall in 8.
And what after that? President of the United States?
Well, no, I'll never shoot for nothing like that, but I'm the prettiest fighter in the ring today. That's my label.
Is it real, son? Is it really real, son? Let me know it's real, son, if it's really real. Something I can feel, son, loaded up and kill 120 your deal, son, if it's really real.
And we are back. And since last we spoke with you, we have gotten in. This is just to show you the perspectives, the multiple perspectives that you get from R&R on Sports. We have with us, sharing his very unique perspective, New York Knicks great Allan Houston, who was a next-door neighbor to the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali in Louisville. Is that correct, Allan?
Yeah, well, my parents lived 2 houses down from Ali.
Okay.
And the Clay family, my grandmother owned the house, and when my parents got married, they moved into the house 2 doors down, and I grew up in that house on Grand Avenue, till I was 8, 9 years old. And my father got the job at the University of Louisville, and then, we moved. But it's just amazing to hear the stories. Every time I talk to my parents and we get into Ali's legacy and what he meant to the city and what he further meant to our family, I just hear more and more stories. It's just remarkable hearing his impact on my father, on my father,
right,
and just our whole family.
You said the Clay family. Now, and in the previous segment, we were talking about how, like old guys like my father did not embrace the name change. How, knowing him and knowing the family, was that difficult at all for you? I mean, I'm sure by the time you grew up, he was indeed Muhammad Ali. But was there any confusion there about what you call him?
The Knicks did an article. We spent an hour, just talking about this, and I was on the phone with my parents, and again, hearing the affection for what he meant. When he would come back, and he came back after the Ken Norton fight, and I was 2 years old, and my father tells the story how he came back and he just knocked on the door and just surprise visit, and hearing like those stories about him, to me, I can't answer for my parents, but I can say that the sentiment is that it didn't matter to them. This was a person who they were just supremely proud of, and not just proud because he was a champion, because he had been victorious in so many of his fights and come back from fights, but the fact of just who he was and his impact and who he was as a human being, his impact on humanity.
Right.
And so I don't think the name change really had any effect on their sentiment or thoughts about him.
Well, see, that's what I actually, we were talking about that, and I was talking about the fact that, now Kentucky claims Ali and Louisville claims Ali, but in all honesty, Ali was really Black Louisville. I mean, the West End, he was ours, and he was our champion. And it didn't matter. None of that about his name being a Muslim, any of that. It mattered to the older, the older group about, being a Muslim versus the Christian and that weird dichotomy there. But in all honesty, we just loved him because he gave us so much pride, and he represented us with such honor, and he was a man of his beliefs, and it allowed us a level of freedom. So Allan, take that piece and kind of tell him what kind of add context to what I've just said, if you could, as to how prideful we were growing up and being that we were from the city of Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when I hear my mother talk about even the name change, see, imagine hearing a story of Muhammad Ali and you are too young to remember anything. And you hear the story of two gold medal winners. One is Muhammad Ali, one is Wilma Rudolph, and they're friends from the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you hear the story of Muhammad Ali challenging Wilma Rudolph to a race on the same street they grew up on, and Muhammad Ali so confident that he thinks he's going to beat Wilma Rudolph in a foot race on Grand Avenue, and the whole block is watching and staring, and of course Wilma Rudolph wins the race, of course, and Ali doesn't want to admit that she won the race, and then you just are picturing this. Now, I was just on this Rumble Young Man Rumble national conference call, and for the Center of Black Male Achievement at the Ali Center host, and one of the young men just talked about the pride that this has brought in the city of Louisville, and the hope that hopefully some of the downtrodden and hopeless in the city of Louisville can take from this. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm picturing this and I'm looking at it, and to me, that's really what it said. The faith, whether it's Muslim, Christian, that the Ali stood for what he was convicted of, what he thought was right. He was a law-abiding citizen as long as those laws were just. And that's what I take from the stories and from the essence of him being from Louisville, the confidence and the pride that I have, and the fact that the last time I went by and showed one of my friends, I was home and we were riding down Grand Avenue, and I just saw these people that were starting the renovations, and you could see the planning that was going on in the actual house, the museum that they're renovating. And I'm like, wow, the next time I come back here, it could be lines of people walking around this block and coming to see this, not realizing that the moment we're in right now would be here. And this was literally 3 to 4, like a month ago. And every time I go home to the block, just so many of these stories just pop up in my mind.
Right. This is R&R on Sports, and we're in the midst of our ICONversation segment with our special guest, Allan Houston, New York Knicks great, Allan Houston.
So I read an article recently, Allan, that was talking about your mom. Actually, I think it was an article that you had done, and she was saying that one of the pieces of advice that he had given her was you treat the people the same going up as you do anyone else, because those are the people that you'll meet on the way down. And it kind of feels like that is something that's being lost on generations coming up. So when you talk to your players about how, because I'm sure they want to know about Ali, are there pieces of wisdom that you have taken and now that you impart and pass down?
Well, I mean, a lot of the players, like a lot of the generation, they don't really see a point where it will come down. You know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
I think that's one of the issues is that, when you come in, let's just take this specific field. I was talking to a coach just recently about, when Phil Jackson played, or when Steve Mills, our GM, played, this was not the only thing that you should be focusing on doing. They had to do other jobs.
Right.
When Phil Jackson played, some of the players were like going to dentistry and medical school in the summer. Mm-hmm. So now what happens is, as players from the time that they're 12 years old, they have no other vision in sight besides playing professional basketball, and everything that is around them, surrounding them, and told to them and invested in them is suggesting that one thing. And so they don't really envision anything else, and that's kind of dangerous. So it's a perspective. You know, you just have to kind of keep pouring into them these same principles: conviction, respect, spirituality, you know, confidence. These same principles, core principles that Ali stood for and embodied. You have to continue to reinforce those core values that sustain us no matter what we're doing. And I think that's really what you have to kind of keep talking about.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're still speaking with Allan Houston of the New York Knicks. Allan, you have a program that I think really kind of embodies the mentality of Muhammad Ali, and it's called Fizzle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the attributes and the tenets of Fizzle and how they relate to someone like Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, well, Fizzle started from my father and our relationship. We wanted to host and have a platform for fathers and men to engage in relationship building, because relationships with fathers and parents and mentors and coaches and adults starts with a trust. And you can't be coached or disciplined if you don't trust that authority figure. So we wanted to say, what are some core principles and values? And I just basically sat one day and said, what are some things that my father, my parents, and those that I've been taught by, what are some values, some core values that I could just think about? And this acronym that basically this guy just dropped it in, and this acronym was 5 principles. It was faith, integrity, sacrifice, leadership, and legacy. And I just started saying, that's a cool little catchy, so I just started saying Fizzle. And Fizzle is something that we have used as our model. We have a lot of different arms of Fizzle, where there's some apparel and all this stuff. But really, Fizzle is to me, it's a circle. To me, it's a circle of human development. When I think about it, you have to believe in something. You have to have an identity. You have to know, to me, who you are if you're going to start to grow as a person in doing anything. And then my father and my mother was a foundation of faith in our family. I think as our family, we have a foundation of faith. We kind of always talked about why we're here. What is our big purpose? And if you're on any basketball team, you have to know your role, or any sports team and anything. I think just knowing your role gives you the confidence.
Allan Houston, it is incredible to have you on, and particularly from your perspective. And we can say that we understand fully that you had tremendous role models. In addition to your dad, the greatest of all time was very, very close. And as I'm saying, the mold is broken. There can only be one greatest, and he has left the building. So we appreciate you being with us here on R&R on Sports. Love to have you back sometime in the near future, and we'll be back with more R&R right after this.
It's hard to believe. All the year, everything that's passed between us. It's so hard to believe, and so memorable. And now, it's time to say to you, Muhammad, God bless you. You are exactly who you said you are. You never wavered. You are free to be who you want to be. I love you.
And we have come to the end yet again of another fantastic show.
Young man, rumble. The greatest of all time.
They had sayings, didn't they? Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. I'm a bad man.
I'm the one that's pretty up in here.
Yeah, you are, darling.
You ain't prettier than me. I'm from Louisville. You know I'm pretty.
But we have lost the greatest of all time. As I said before, quit. I'm going to tell y'all individually, stop using GOAT is gone. Greatest of all time is retired.
Greatest of all times is retired.
There could only be one, and it was him, and he is gone. So there are other greats. Be careful how you use it. But it's been a very eventful week. And we say adieu and goodbye to
Arrivederci.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And Muhammad Ali. That's what I was about to say. Y'all always premature. You're always premature in terms of that.
Valhalla.
Valhalla.
No, okay. Can you do the next 45 seconds saying goodbye only in a variety of ways? Okay, Jennifer, go.
Bye.
See ya.
See, y'all failed miserably. Y'all have failed miserably. But we want to wish everybody to have a great week. Live,
I thought you were about to say
love.
something about birthday or something. You sound like you was about to say have a great birthday.
No, I had a great birthday.
He did.
Oh, you did. See, you know I slid that in. See how I slid that in.
Hey,
you know, you say something about a birthday, man.
That's it.
Hey, man. How many? So we can count the rings around your neck. We can count the wrinkles in your neck to determine how old you are, right?
No.
Junior?
Ain't no wrinkles in my neck.
His height and age are now the same, though.
Y'all have a great week. We're gonna be back, and don't leave us. Be back with us next week.
We out.
Peace.
R&R on Sports is recorded live at LPI Studios in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee. Web designer Daniel Coates, executive producer Larry Robinson, written by Howard Robertson. R&R on Sports, part of the Kazookian Network.